There we go. All right. How's everybody doing? Um, yeah, what do y'all got? What do we got? We're good. Another week. We had a couple good weeks practice, and got 2 weeks left of spring practice. So big 2 weeks for us. So you're going to start cutting down on installation and really letting the guys go play. And we got to do a great job evaluating what guys do well, what we want to keep, what we want to get rid of, and what direction we're going to continue to move forward in getting into fall camp. So,
Edgar, lead off.
Yeah, hey, Dan. Nice to see you.
You too.
So, yeah, on that note, just how different is does this offense look to you? I mean, we're not seeing it to you if you're looking at it, and how much are we going to recognize the offense based on what we saw the last few years?
Like every year it's been a little bit different, so this year will be a little different again. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that you recognize, a lot of things, and then some things that are going to be a little bit different for us. Right now we're still, we're putting everything in, and then we're going to see what kind of fits, what our guys are most comfortable with doing and how they're most comfortable doing it. So I think that'll be what we figure out here through spring, and then what direction we want to head going into summer, and then we'll kind of figure more of that out in the summer as we get ready to get in the season. But there'll be a lot of similarities to what we've done. We're not changing a whole lot.
Well, I mean, there's going to be more run-based quarterback stuff, I would assume.
We probably have a couple more quarterback runs that we didn't have last year. We didn't run Kyle all that much. So, but I'd be honest with you, it's going to be pretty similar, though, with what we do.
Can it be similar in terms of the explosiveness, you think? I mean, that was a tough act to follow last year. I was looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Most 20-plus in the SEC, most 30-plus, and the most in your career. Your 2014 Mississippi State team at 86 20-plus. Last year was 87 and one fewer game. So you guys are pretty explosive.
Yeah, let's hope so. You know what I mean? You need to have explosive plays to be successful. We have some playmakers out here on the field. I think, if you saw to have that happen, you have to do a good job of creating those matchups, putting your guys in position to have explosive plays and to get the playmakers the ball in the right area and in the right way. And I think we've always tried to do a pretty good job of that. And we're going to continue to do that, and it'll be different, but there'll be some different playmakers, a bunch of guys left, but there's a bunch of explosive guys that are here, and so what we're going to do is continue to work to put them in the best position to create that. When you have explosive plays, you have the opportunity to score, so they're important.
Speaking of explosive, last one, you watched Bryson DeChambeau yesterday?
I missed it. I was kind of working, getting some work done, but I saw the one deal of he was cutting the corner on the par 5 or something, right?
Not even a corner. He's hitting it from your house to.
But it was, I was looking at that and they're I didn't see the coverage of it. I just saw the one shot over the water. But that's a high risk, high reward, because he's basically if it kerplunks, where it crossed, you're basically dropping 3 back on the tee box. You got to play it out of bounds, right? You're not. There's no drop or no thought of where it went in. It's the tee box is where it crossed the water. So
he's warms up like he's about to do a clean and jerk. I was sitting on the 6th tee box and he's jumping all over. It's crazy, but it was fun. I just wondered if you saw it. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Oh yeah.
David, go ahead.
Coach, after missing last spring and you now well within this spring, has the approach been any different this spring from the previous ones?
No. For us, it's about putting a bunch of things in, teaching a lot of foundation of the offense, defense, and special teams, and trying to evaluate what guys do well. That's a big part of it. Of a lot of teaching. And a lot of evaluating goes on in spring. And that's what we've always done, and that's what we're doing this year as well.
Cassidy.
Could Cannon have made that shot over the water?
Yeah, I don't know if there's many people making that shot over the water. You know, you got to have the that was what was it, like 330 carry or something like that? So
You asked that like I was gonna know. I don't.
It's like 340 something.
carry. I mean, that's
If you drove the green, it would be like 355 in the air.
wow.
From what limited practice footage we do get to see, it seems like you are over on the defensive side of the field a lot more. After last year or after last season and how it ended, did you feel any sort of, I guess, responsibility to be more involved, like in those defensive drills and that part of practice?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, if you ever watch us in the season, I spend a lot. I'm probably evenly on both sides of the ball at practice. You know, even all during the course of the season. You know, on both things, and you know, and just kind of making sure I'm spending time equally. You know, I mean, in the meeting rooms, I probably spend a little bit more time offensively, but on the field, I try to be as balanced as I can be for the guys on the team.
And then I heard Urban say once that the best offensive coordinator should also be a heck of a defensive coordinator, and that you and Ryan Day were the best he'd ever been around in that sense. How true is that, and what does that, I guess, lesson look like? Like, do you have to go study the defense as well for the offense? What is that balance like?
Well, I think that's a very nice compliment from Urban, but I do think I think you have to understand defense. You know, when you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. You know, and if you don't understand your opponent or your opposition, which would, you know, if you're an offensive coach, that's the defense. If you don't understand not just what they're doing, how they're doing it, but why they're doing it as well, you know, you're not going to be successful. You can sit there and say, okay, hey, you know, I mean, if there was just a perfect plays, everybody, you know, hey, these are the 10 perfect plays, right? Everybody would only run those 10 plays. You know, and so it's always what works against the defense. How do you want to attack the defense? But if to do that, you better understand and know exactly what they're doing. And so I'm sure that's what he was implying.
And then just last one from me. You had your first scrimmage over the weekend. What were your takeaways from it? How did it go?
It went pretty good. You know, I mean, we were able to stay pretty healthy, which always makes you nervous, that part of it. You know, there's a lot of different situations now. You know, I mean, we kind of leading up to that, it's been a lot of installation, you know, of just teaching the, you know, I mean, from fundamentals to base plays to installing the offensive and defensive schemes. The first opportunity to kind of let that all kind of blend together. You know, and then coach it through situations. There's some really good situational things that that we can teach off of that film.
Matt Baker.
Hey Dan, I know you when you were at Mississippi State, you guys were the first to offer Emory Jones a scholarship. I don't know the story behind it. How did he get on your radar? What did you see in him? I mean, he was just finished his freshman year, right?
Yeah, you're paying attention to guys, and you know, you look for a guy that has you know, I mean, he's got a really strong arm with a quick release, and he's got a great athletic ability. You know, so early on, you see that the talent that he has and the potential that he has. So. You know, I don't know, we'd always work kind of trying to get into as many, you know, schools and talk to coaches, and, you know, the coaches recommend players to you, you know, and then we trust our evaluation of their recommendations. Coach says, hey, I really like this guy within our program. What do you think? And we go evaluate him, and that's kind of how it went about with Emory.
When was the first time after you got him on campus when you looked at him and said, all right, this guy can be an SEC starter, this guy's got his...
Here at Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that would have been his, you know, when he got here, you saw the talent that he had, you know, his ability, you know, how the ball jumps out of his hands, and the arm talent he has, and then his ability to kind of extend plays. You know, I mean, his athleticism, not just when I'm talking about quarterback runs, but his athleticism to scramble, extend plays, and see things that, you know, the defense really can't account for because it's kind of out of the scheme. That's a huge plus that he brings to the table.
Okay, thank you.
Goldie.
Yeah, Dan, is DeMarcus Bowman dealing with a little bit of a knee injury?
Yeah, we're good. We're not going into injuries of anybody right now. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Nick.
Hey, Coach, one of the things Kyle Trask did really well was being able to read the defense, but he also threw with great touch, like when he needed to. It wasn't wasn't a fastball. Have you seen that in Emory Jones' game to know when to take something off of a pass when it needs to be?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of that though comes from experience. I mean, Kyle, the more you play, the more you get to understand the defense, and you read the defense, and then you understand the type of throws that you have to make to go beat it. So, I mean, Emory's going to be a very different player than Kyle. So, I mean, there's going to be zero, but every quarterback is. I don't, everybody loves compare this guy to that guy. Well, there is no comparison. I mean, they're all individuals and they all have their own strengths. So it's important for us to play to his strengths. But I mean, he can make there's a lot of throws that Emory can make that Kyle couldn't make. So that'll allow us to tweak and change some things within the scheme.
Zach Goodall.
Hey Dan, I saw Jules tweeted the other night that Pat Moore won, I think, Playmaker of the Day for a certain practice. You mentioned that this is a pretty young team, but are there any veteran guys that have maybe been more depth pieces over the past couple of years that have stood out to you so far in practice?
No, I think there's a bunch of guys are continuing to grow and develop. I don't know that I'm probably very critical of guys, so I don't sit there and say, okay, this guy's doing awesome. I'm looking at how are we getting everybody better. And every individual better every single day of practice. So I am really pleased with the attitude of our guys and the effort of which they play with, and really the effort of everybody as a team. I kind of like our approach and how we've been coming as a team more than maybe just individuals jumping up and down.
Zach Alberti.
That's your guy though, right? With the vaulted number 37?
Who? I'm 36.
No.
Chief is in number 36.
Oh, I thought it was 37.
No, 36. That's my number.
I got to brush up on my Mullen trivia.
Just like Jerome Bettis, 36.
Yep.
We're
We're similar style players. maybe on the golf course, but that's about it.
If he was the bus, then what were you?
Yeah, I was a Kias, like.
The Kia Sportage.
Yeah. The mini.
Hey Dan,
Go
before you go, can you give us some more juice from scrimmage? Any guys that made some plays or position groups that perform really well? Come on, help us out, Dan. It's the off season.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of guys did. Quarterbacks, did some things. We limit what they're allowed to do in the scrimmage. So we really eliminate a lot of the quarterback runs, some of that stuff. So we take away some of their strengths, but I thought they when you take that away, they were solid. Receivers were pretty balanced across the board. O-line was good at, was pretty good. We rotate so many guys. That's what's so hard. At the end of the scrimmage, everybody has kind of equal reps. So it's not like a game. It's there's game situations to teach off of, but you're not going to get this, it's similar to a game feel. I thought running backs were really good. Tight ends consistent, at times. Defensive line, defensive front. Everybody's good. I mean, it's kind of hard when you look and you're, because there's good and bad to everybody. But in a game, you're going to have guys that play 70 plays and guys that play 15. And in the scrimmage, like everybody's playing 40 to 50 plays on the entire roster. So it's a little bit different that way.
And then just as a follow-up, obviously last year, I think with the lack of the offseason, everybody was expecting offenses to be ahead of defenses. Do you think this year, maybe with your team, you could see the defense be at a better place this time of year than they were last year?
Yeah, I think it'll help. I think I think last year, especially offenses being ahead possibly, but especially experienced groups being ahead, and we had some experience on that side of the ball last year. The fact that we're young this year, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see for us. I think a lot of it's going to be from that end of spring ball to the start of training camp is always such a critical time in every team's growth and development, and when we are limited as coaches of what we can do in the contact we have with the players, when you start limiting all of their stuff and their growth and their development, what they do on their own to continue to improve is so critical. And so, I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think obviously, last year, you didn't have a spring practice. So there was, they didn't have all the video. They didn't have the ability to watch themselves on film. They didn't have the ability to go learn and try to and physically go do it. And then you're trying to figure out how to do all this Zoom stuff and learn through Zoom and not in person. So, I think there's a lot more opportunity to develop at a much, much better rate this year, obviously, than last year. And I think development is critical, especially for young players. And we have a lot of young players. So that end of spring to the start of training camp, though, is such a critical time in that growth and development.
Thanks, Dan.
Nick, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, someone we hadn't talked to you about an early enrollee, Donovan McMillian, am I saying that
McMillan?
right?
Yep.
Yeah. He's a guy that I think we've talked about. Could he be a linebacker? Could he play safety? Once you start developing and grow and you get in the weight program, where have you started him and what have you seen from him on the field as an early enrollee?
Yeah, I mean, he's playing safety for us right now. But you said, obviously you don't know. I mean, he's got great size, so you never know physicality, how everybody grows into the back end of their career. But he's playing safety for us right now. High energy guy, really plays hard. I like intelligent football player, and he really, one of the things you see with him is, he's got obviously dad's a coach, and you can see that has his attention to detail on all the little things. Whether we're in special teams or whether we're on defense, his attention to detail to trying to do it right really stands out.
And then if he's not on campus yet, can you talk about him? If he talking about DeJuan Black, I don't know if you can or not. I had a question about him.
Yeah, he signed, right?
He's signed, but he just hasn't gotten to campus yet.
Yeah, I can talk to him if he signed. Make sure.
What's that process like? Because you signed him 2 years ago, and then obviously you're at JUCO, and do you keep recruiting him? Is that like you basically?
Yeah, you do. I mean, but he's a guy that he committed to us, was steadfast in his commitment to us the whole time. So a lot of the recruitment is making sure he's taking care of his business to get everything done academically. He needs to get done to make it here. And, I give him a lot of credit because he's worked hard to get that done, and to take care of what he needs to get here. And I think that's a huge part of it all. And, it'd be great to get him here on campus. And, we're hoping in May.
And he's another guy. I mean, you could have him rush the passer and all the way back to maybe playing safety. Where does he even?
We'll see when he gets here. We'll see when he gets here.
Certainly versatile.
Oh, yeah.
Haley, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Going back to the scrimmage a little bit, what are some of the biggest improvements you would want to see from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2?
Boy, there's so many. It's so individually based. Like I said, I thought our attitude in this and how our guys approached the scrimmage was really good. So as a team, I don't know. Just keep that same attitude and that development, and then just make sure we're really understanding game situations, which I thought we did a pretty good job of understanding that, where we are in the game situation. I guess if anything, offense, we continue, play with some good tempo out there. I think at times, but that happens in a scrimmage because you're coaching, you're stopping, you're teaching, more than a game to make it more game-like defense. Same way, but to me, it's all about the individual, of watching the individual growth from scrimmage 1 to scrimmage 2, of how they're applying the installs into game situations. Say, hey, here's what we're installing. Here's what we're installing it against today. Everything's in a small window. When you get into a scrimmage, it becomes a big window of your understanding of the picture of things. So that's one of the things of how guys cope and deal with all of the different adjustments that go on within a scrimmage.
Thank you.
Buddy Martin, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, Dan. I know you've only had these young men a few days and you don't know that much, but what can you tell us that you know now that maybe you didn't know when you started? And how do you feel about this core group?
Oh, I feel great. That's probably what I know now is, our guys love to play football, it seems. We have great energy at practice. They like each other as a team. I think you can see the older guys and the leadership trying to help with the maturity. There's not just excitement and energy at practice, but it's channeled and focused into development of trying to do things the right way. And I think when something doesn't go right, you see that instead of guys worrying about things that aren't important, you see the leadership and guys within the program trying to get it corrected more than, kind of the whether it's just hype, you know what I'm saying, or one of those, and paying attention to every small detail more than worried about stuff that's not important. So I've been pleased with that.
Much is made often about having your guys, quote unquote. You were able to be part of a team that won a national championship 2 years removed from Zook's recruiting class and what you had in there. Now you've got pretty much all your own players, if that's the right term. I don't know what it is. How much does that mean to the glue, the personality, the commitment to each other to have guys that all came in under your regime?
Well, there's still a bunch of guys that didn't, but I don't know. I always view it this way: is they were all my guys from the, really year one. Once we got through that first off season, those guys knew I was committed to them, and they were committed to me and how we're going to run this program, and we were all in this together. We're all Gators, so how we got here wasn't as important. That we all believe in the same thing, and that's being part of the Gator family and being part of the Gator Nation, and so. I don't know that it's any different now than it was then.
Thank you.
We'll go Mark and close with Edgar.
Make me follow Buddy, the great Buddy. Dan, I want to go back to something you said earlier. Which specific throws does Kyle make? Does Emory make that Kyle could not?
Emory's got a much stronger arm. You know what I mean? So on certain deep balls, there's certain deep balls that he can throw, I think, because he's got a stronger arm. And it's not a knock against Kyle. I think everybody sees that with Kyle, the accuracy. Obviously, Kyle's probably a much more accurate passer. But, I think if you look at his numbers, he was close to 70% completions, I think, which is one of the most accurate probably in school history. So there's been a lot of quarterbacks play here at Florida. So I just think they're very different players. And so the key is, I think key in coaching that gets missed sometimes. People are like, hey, this is our system and this is what it is. And, if you're a square peg and we're a round hole, just keep slamming it until you become round and fit in there. Our job is to mold it as coaches and kind of tweak around the strengths of the player. So we'll build around the strengths of the quarterbacks that are here now, just very much the way we built around Kyle's strengths over the last 2 years. And, I think one of the things, and you'll see, I'm excited for Kyle and his future. Obviously, I think his game really translates well to the next level. And, so I expect someone's going to be pretty fortunate here coming up in the draft. And whenever that is, what is it, end of April, I think.
End of April, yeah. And then one more. Obviously, when you read into your off-season moves, it looked like you and Todd are, saying the secondary was the primary defensive culprit. Just curious, is that personnel issues or schematic? And what have you seen so far that makes you think that you're going to get that fixed in a quick span?
Well, we really have a short time of deals, but I think there's a bunch of I don't want to say I don't think it was one specific thing or issue. I think there are some things as a whole that we need to fix and adjust. And as the year went on, I think at times last year we played really well. I think there's other times in there that we didn't in situations, and then it's IDing what those situations were, why we didn't play well in those situations, and then what are the adjustments we make for when we see these situations in the future. How are we making the adjustments to that? So I don't want to pin it all on one area. There was probably a bunch of multiple things that we needed to kind of tweak and change and improve on. And I think obviously certainly having a spring practice and hopefully a little bit more of a normal year will help us do that.
Close us out, Edgar.
Yeah, no more golf talk. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. You were all excited from the weekend. And it's
I'm
another
ready.
exciting golf weekend in Jacksonville this weekend, right?
Well, yeah, I got that this week. That'll be fun. So Dan, two things. So back to Emory for a sec, because that did kind of like hit me when you said throw. Is not to channel George Whitfield or anything here, but can he make the so-called off-schedule throws better maybe too?
Well, I think they're different in how they make those. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so Kyle, I thought, Kyle was really, is a really pocket guy. I mean, he can slide in the pocket. He can make this and arm angle and change. But, Emery's a guy that's going to extend, but he can extend outside. And now when you extend outside, you got the threat of run because he's so dynamic in the open field with the ball in his hand. And his ability to throw on the run and make some, use some arm talent, to kind of be off balance while you're running one direction and just be able to use your arm to flip the ball in another direction. So, they're just totally different players. You know what I mean? And so, ours is, we're not going to change who we are offensively. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of the same offense that we've been running. But what is funny is kind of how they run the plays within the offense are going to look differently, even though it's the same type of offense, because they're very different talent player-wise.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. The other thing, back to Todd for a sec. His competitive fire is hard to miss. The guy's intense. Are you seeing maybe a teeny bit more of an edge with this guy? Last year was frustrating. He faced tons of criticism. Are you seeing just a little bit of a different Todd in terms of determination or to prove
No, I think Todd's, I've always had a lot of confidence. I think Todd's a great football coach. You know what I mean? And I think part of that, I don't know, it's a new edge or different. I think he's as competitive now as he was last year, as he was the year before that, and the year before that. That's who he is. I think obviously having the opportunity to have spring to identify where our players are at and making sure we're putting them in the best position with the right guys on the field to be successful against all the different things that we're going to see and that we're going to have to adjust to during the course of a season. I think there's a benefit to that, having that time and that opportunity to see those things.
I just didn't know if it was I'm getting there and he's burning midnight oil, or he's there before I am, or he's
No. We work really well together, have great communication, you know what I mean? And we spend a lot of time on, just the checks and balances. Are we putting guys in position to go be successful? But you can look at anything, you can statistically look at anything how you want to look at it and say, boy, I'm guessing next year everyone can look and say, boy, we've taken a huge step back throwing the ball. Well, maybe not. Or we took a huge step forward running the ball off of next year's team than last year's team. But last year we ran the ball very efficiently. We just didn't do it very often. And statistically speaking, I think you're like, okay, the explosive plays, where are they at? Where are this at? Each team's different, and our job is to put them in the best position to be successful. And I think, that's something Todd's, if I've seen is us spending a lot of time making sure we're putting the right guys in the right position and giving them the best opportunity to be successful.
Appreciate the time. We love stats, though. You know that.
Yeah, always. So, all right, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Dan.
Everybody.
Thank you.